Close your eyes. Now think of your favorite food. A juicy steak, rich, creamy chocolate, anything you want. But wait, before you get to devour it, you have to poke your finger and check and see where your blood sugar's at, and then take a shot of insulin for it. Open your eyes. This is a process that the lives of diabetics have to go through daily. You never know who you might run into who has type 1 or type 2 diabetes. Having this information and knowledge will help you in the real world. Today I'm going to inform you about both type 1 and type 2 diabetes. I'm going to talk about the definitions and causes, the symptoms that can occur, and the different forms of treatment. I have been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes since I was 6. My mom has had type 1 diabetes for 10 years of her life. Having this personal experience has helped me want to grow in my knowledge about it and then share with others what I've learned. To begin, we're going to look at the definitions and causes of each type. Tricia Dunning and Glenn Ward's book, Managing Clinical Problems in Diabetes, published in 2008, states that type 1 diabetes is an absolute lack of insulin. There are two main causes of type 1 diabetes. The first is autoimmune. This is where your beta cells are attacked and then killed. Beta cells are the ones that recognize that there's sugar in your bloodstream, and then in response to that, produce insulin. And as you can see, a person with a healthy pancreas has all of their beta cells, whereas a type 1 diabetic does not. This is hard to regulate your blood sugar because all of those are dying. So a normal range that you would like to be in is 80 to 120, and anything lower than 80 is considered to be a low blood sugar. This is where you need to intake more sugar to get it back up to that expected range. If you don't do anything about that, you can pass out, and then if nothing happens after that, you can die because you're not taking care of it. On the other hand, there's high blood sugar, which is anything above 150. This is where you need to take insulin to bring it back down to that range. If you don't take care of this, you can go into ketoacidosis shock, which is you have so much sugar in your body, it doesn't know what to do, so it just starts shutting down. And then the second cause is just unknown. Type 2 diabetes is described as your body not using insulin properly, according to Dunning and Ward also. And there are two main causes for this as well, genetic and environmental, such as insulin resistance. According to the article Diabetes Basics, Type 2, written by the American Diabetes Association, your pancreas at first makes more insulin than needed to make up for the earlier loss, but then over an amount of time can't keep up, so then it just kind of stops working. Now that we have covered the definitions and causes of each type, we will look at the different symptoms that can occur. According to the article written by the Mayo Clinic staff, Disease and Conditions, Type 1 Diabetes, Type 1 diabetes symptoms can occur rapidly and come on very quickly. Deborah Hari-Jashu writes in her book, Management of Diabetes Mellitus, Perspectives of Care Across the Lifespan, published in 1992, that common symptoms and signs of type 1 diabetes are polydyspia, which is another way of saying abnormally need for thirst, and then polyuria, which is an abnormal amount of diluted urine. And on the screen, the darker the test result comes back, the more sugar you have in your body. So you want to be on the negative or the lighter side. Other symptoms can include weight loss, blurred vision, increased hunger. And in my experience, I also had a lot of hair loss and nausea. Type 2 is similar to type 1 in the symptoms that can occur, but they occur gradually over a certain amount of time and are basically unnoticeable. And those include urination, thirst, nausea, and dizziness. Now that we've looked at the symptoms, we can look at the different treatments that are available to maintain these diseases. Margaret Gray writes in her Diabetes Mellitus Type 1 in Patricia Lutter Jackson and Judith A. Vesey's book, Primary Care of a Child with Chronic Condition, published in 1992, there are two main objectives to managing diabetes. The first is to stay in that normal range for your blood sugar, and then the second is to prevent any complications that you might have from not taking care of it now. In the upper left-hand corner of the screen is a blood glucose monitor. What you do is you poke your finger, insert blood into the test strip, and then it will tell you a number of where your blood sugar is at. Type 1 diabetics are recommended to test 4 to 5 times a day, mainly before meals, and then before bed are the most helpful. In the upper right-hand corner are insulin shots. These shots are throughout the day, usually after you eat, or if your blood sugar is high because of adrenaline. And this helps to regulate your blood sugar. And then in the bottom right-hand corner are insulin pumps. These pumps are inserted and can last up to 3 days, and it just has a little catheter inside of you, and it just kind of spurts insulin into you throughout the day. Type 2, you don't need to test, but some people just like to do it to make sure that they're not going too high or too low. The most common treatment is diet and exercise. Oral medications are also prescribed, and then the last resort are insulin injections if none of those are working. So in conclusion, we've covered the definitions and causes, the symptoms, and the different forms of treatment. It is good to have this knowledge because you never know who you might run into, and you could possibly be saving a life. People always say that laughter is the best medicine, unless you're diabetic, then it's insulin.